Hare Krishna. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, Mataji, we can see this. Give me 1 minute, Mataji. I'm sharing the link. Yes, Mataji. We are ready to go. Can you start your video, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Can you see my presentation?
Yes, Mataji, I can see your presentation. Yes, perfect. Everything is perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to Bhakti Sangha. After a break in the New Year holidays time, we are back again with the chapter summaries. Today we are going to have Canto 4, Chapter 6 by Her Grace Mukta Mataji. Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Nice to see you back again on this class, Mataji. We are eagerly waiting to hear from you. Chapter 6 from Canto 4. Hari Bol. Over to you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you so much, Bhakti Sangha Japa Group team, for hosting and very kindly giving me this opportunity to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam. Welcome, everyone, to the Srimad Bhagavatam chapter-wise summary series. Today's topic is Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 4, Chapter 6, Brahma satisfies Lord Shiva. Let's begin with the prayers for auspiciousness. Om Ajnanatimidandasya Jnanandinashalakya Chakshurunmitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Saputam Ena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sopadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapadakamilam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagsjatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadhvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Papalita Shri Vishakhamvitamscha Ye Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Pada Kanta Namostute Sapta Kanchana Gaurangi Vade Davneshwari Vishvanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gautavani Pacharini Nirvishesha Shunyapadi Paschatya Deshatarini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Okay. So before we go to our today's topic, let's do a quick recap of chapter 5. So in chapter 5, before that, Mother Sati, she gave up her body in the Daksha's sacrificial arena. So when Lord Shiva hears about Mother Sati's death because of being insulted in Daksh Prajapati's sacrificial arena, he gets very angry. So he created a demon from his hair to kill Daksha and his soldiers. So all these persons assembled in the sacrificial arena became full of anxiety, and this destruction was similar to what happens at the time of dissolution. So Maniman, one of the followers of Lord Shiva, arrested Brigumuni. Veerbhadra, the black demon, arrested Prajapati Daksha. Another follower named Chandesha arrested Pusha. Nandishwara arrested the demigod Bhaga. The followers of Lord Shiva devastated all the arrangements for the sacrifice. And after setting fire to the whole arena, they departed for their master's abode, that is Kailash. So in this chapter, we'll go in detail on the following points. So after being defeated by the soldiers of Lord Shiva and got injured by weapons like tridents and swords, all the priests, members of the sacrificial assembly and demigods, with great fear, they approached Lord Brahma. So both Lord Brahma and Lord Vishnu had already known what is going to happen in this event, so they did not go to the sacrifice. So we already heard in chapter 4, when one witnesses the blasphemy of Lord or his devotees, one must either close their ears or walk away. So here Srila Prabhupada makes a point. He points out a verse from from Canto 10, chapter 74, verse 39. He says that several members of the assembly covered their ears and walked out angrily cursing the king of Chedi upon hearing such intolerable blasphemy of the Lord. Therefore, both Lord Brahma and Lord Vishnu, knowing that this will happen, they did not go to the sacrificial arena. So after hearing everything from the demigods and the members who had attended the sacrifice, Lord Brahma replied, "You cannot be happy in executing a sacrifice if you blaspheme a great personality like Shiva by offending his lotus feet." And he started chastising the demigods. He said, "You have excluded Lord Shiva from taking part in the sacrificial results, and therefore you are all offenders at his lotus feet." Srila Prabhupada explains here, according to Manu's law, when a person commits murder, punishment is beneficial for him because if he's not killed, he might commit more and more murders or more and more offenses, and thereby he will be entangled in his future lives for having killed so many people. So therefore, the king, who is the representative of the Lord, giving punishment to the murderer is appropriate. If those who are extremely offensive are killed by the grace of Lord, that is good for them. In other words, Lord Brahma explained to the demigods that it was good that Daksha had been killed by the followers of Lord Shiva. So Lord Brahma advises the demigod to go and surrender on Lord Shiva's lotus feet and ask for his forgiveness. So, but how? So by surrendering to him without any reservation, that means there should not be any hesitation or any preconceived notion. They have to surrender it fully, completely. Only then he will be able to mitigate their offenses and they will be able to please Lord Shiva. Ramaji explains, Lord Shiva is so powerful that by his anger, all the planets and their chief controllers can be immediately destroyed. It is very difficult for any conditioned soul to know how powerful Lord Shiva is or what his position is. So it is known, it is a known fact that Lord Shiva, who is also called Ashutosh, gets very easily pleased because Ashu means very soon and Tosha means very to become satisfied. So Srila Prabhupada points out that Lord Shiva was very sad because he had recently lost his dear wife and had been very much afflicted by the unkind words of Daksha. So under these circumstances, Lord Brahma suggested it would be appropriate to go at once and beg his pardon. So after instructing all the demigods and pitas, the lords of the living entities, Lord Brahma, took them with him and immediately left for the abode of Lord Shiva, which is known as Kailash Hill. So next 14 verses will describe the abode of Lord Shiva, that is Kailash. So the description of Kailash is given here. It is a sanctified, sorry, it is a, yeah, okay. It is a sanctified place, which means that it is sanctified by Vedic hymns and mystic yoga practice. So, because Kailash is always filled with people who have been perfected by yoga, mantra, austerity, herbs, and birth, so they are so because of their presence, the place is sanctified. And what about the residents? The residents of that abode are demigods by birth who have all the mystic powers. There are also other human beings who are known as Kinnars and Gandharvas, and they have beautiful wives which are called Apsaras. The vegetation that consisted of different herbs and vegetables, trees and plants that bore different varieties of fruits and flowers, such as mandar, parijat, sarla, tamal, tala, kovidara, asana, arjuna, chuta, amrajati, which is a type of a mango, nepakadamba, dhuli kadamba, naga, punaga, champaka, jati, a type of jasmine flower, Patala, Ashoka, Bakula, Kunda, Karuba, Kurabaka. These are all the names that have been given of all the trees that are bearing good, nice aromatic fruits and flowers. So different kinds of lotuses such as Kumud, Utpala, Shatapatra, golden lotus flowers were also blooming there. Trees such as cinnamon, cardamom trees, malati, kubja, malika, and madhavi were also found there. Other trees like cutter, jackfruit, julara, banyan trees, lakshas, nyagrodhas, and trees that produces asafoetida, as well as trees of betel nuts, burjapatra, rajapuga, blackberries, piala, maduka, and inuga. The tract of Kailash Hill was nicely decorated with thin and hollow bamboos, key chakra, and other varieties of bamboo trees, such as viu, which is not hollow. The entire hill is decorated with such trees which produce sweet fruits and flowers which have very fragrant aromas. The trees were tall with straight branches and appeared to be calling the sweet birds. Now, the birds here always have the rhythmical sound of the peacock's sweet vibrations and the bees humming. Cuckoos are always singing, and variety of other birds whisper amongst themselves very sweetly. There were many birds whose necks were colored reddish, and whose sweet sounds mixed with the humming of the bees. There were a lot of animals also. Um, so there were elephants that passed through when they passed through the hills, it appeared that the whole Kailash hill was moving with them. Many other animals such as monkeys, boars, lions, forest cows, forest asses, tigers, small deer, buffalo, many other animals that were enjoying their lives there. Deers were of different varieties, such as Karnantra, Ekapada, Ashtavashya, Vrika, and Kasturi, which is also called Nabhi, that is a musk deer. And the mountains and the hills. The mountains were filled with all kinds of valuable jewels and minerals and were surrounded by all varieties of valuable trees and plants. The top of the hill was inhabited by various types of deers. There were many beautiful caves in which the very beautiful wives of the mystics would come and play with their husbands. The lakes and waterfalls. The entire hill is decorated with resounding waterfalls, decorated gardens, small lakes. There are banana trees that decorated the small hillside lakes so nicely. The mountains were surrounded by Ganga waters that became more sacred by the bathing of Mother Sati. The lakes were abundantly decorated with crying swans as well as strong stemmed lotus flowers. So after seeing all these specific beauty of Kailash Hill, all the demigods were struck with wonder. Because even when we look at, when we think about Kailash, at least I'm talking about myself, I used to always think that Kailash was full of snow and it's very barren. But after reading this description, I was amazed. Like even the demigods was struck with wonder. how beautiful Kailash Hill was. And they were struck with wonder at the great opulence that was found here. Demigods saw a beautiful region which was known as Alaka in the forest known as Saugandhika, which means full of fragrance because of abundance of lotus flowers and all the other varieties of flowers and fruits that were found there. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says the region of Alaka was filled with hundreds of airplanes made of gold, pearls, and precious jewels. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada quotes Veer Raghav Acharya. According to him, Alaka means uncommonly beautiful, and it is different from the Alakapuri, which is the abode of Kuvera. It was like the sky filled with clouds and lightning. The city is compared to the sky, the lightning to the woman, and the clouds to the airplanes. In the region of Alaka that the demigods saw, there was a type of lotus flower known as Saugandhika that distributes very fragrant scent. The demigods also saw the regions of Yaksheshwara, also known as Kuvera, who is the treasurer of the demigods. So it is to be understood here that the residence of Kuvera is very near to Kailash. As the demigods passed, they further saw two rivers named Nanda and Alakananda outside the city. And these two rivers are sanctified by the dust of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We all know Govinda. The celestial damsels came down to these rivers in their airplanes with their husbands and enjoyed in the waters by sprinkling their husbands with water. Srila Prabhupada explains two words are very significant. Two words are very significant here in this connection. Lord Govinda, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is described here as Tirtha Pada. Tirtha means sanctified place, and Pada means the lotus feet of the Lord. People go to a sanctified place to free themselves from all sinful reactions that we all know. We all go to pilgrimage to the Dham thinking that we can purify ourselves. But the Lord's lotus feet are also called Tirthapada because they protect the hundreds and thousands of saintly persons. And these saintly persons, in turn, when they go to these dhams, they sanctify these pilgrim places. And it is said that anyone who is fixed in the service of the lotus feet of Govinda is also called Tirthapada. That means the pure devotees. And they don't have to travel to various pilgrim places because they can enjoy all the benefits of such travel simply by engaging in the service of the lotus feet of the Lord. Such a pure devotee who has implicit faith in the lotus feet of the Lord can create sacred places wherever he decides to remain. That is Tirthi Kurvanti Tirthani. This is what Srila Prabhupada mentions in Srimad Bhagavatam first canto, 13th verse, 10th verse, 13th chapter, 10th verse. The places are sanctified by mere presence of pure devotees. The ambience of the forest and the hills of Kailash is described here. So these atmospheric influences in the sandalwood forest made the forest elephants become very unsettled, and blowing wind agitated their minds even further. And the damsels here would come down for further sexual enjoyment with their husbands. So when these damsels of the heavenly planets bathed in the waters, it became yellowish in color and very fragrantful due to the kumkuma of their bodies. So Maitreya Muni says that the elephants who came to bathe here with their wives, although they were not thirsty, they drank the water because the water was very tasty. But another significant point here in this verse is Rati Karshita, means that the damsels become morose after sexual enjoyment with their husbands. And why was that? Because although they accept sex enjoyment as a bodily demand, afterwards they were not happy. And this is due to the potency of the place, that is Tirtha. The place was so sacred that even their lustful desires got purified. There were bathing ghats and in the Kailash, and it was so opulent that they were made of Vaidurya money, which is very precious, which is a very precious stone. The forest of Sogandhika also had desire trees. Srila Prabhupada points out here in the purport that in Brahma Samhita we hear about desire tree which is found in the spiritual world, especially in Krishna Lok, the abode of Lord Krishna. We learn here from this verse or from this chapter that such desire trees are also found in Kailash, the residence of Lord Shiva. And by the grace of Lord Shri Krishna, these are present there. And it appears that Kailash has also a special significance. It is almost like the residence of Krishna. It is very opulent. The demigods reach a place where there was a great banyan tree. That banyan tree was 800 miles high. Its branches spread over 600 miles, and the tree cast a fine shade which permanently cooled the temperature. Yet there was no sound of birds. So that means Srila Prabhupada explains here that generally on every tree there are so many bird nests and the birds congregate in the evening and create a lot of noise. But it appears that this banyan tree was devoid of nests and therefore it was calm, quiet, and peaceful. There was no disturbance from either noise or heat, and therefore this place was suitable for meditation. The demigods saw Lord Shiva sitting there under that tree, which was capable of giving perfection to mystic yogis and delivering all kinds of people. Lord Shiva was surrounded by saintly persons like Kuvera, the four Kumaras, Narad Muni, who already liberated souls. Srila Prabhupada says that Lord Shiva's association with the Kumars and the Kuvera and Narad Muni indicates that he has all the transcendental and material opulences. Since he's the qualitative incarnation, that is Guna Avatar of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, his position is very exalted. They saw Lord Shiva in grave as eternal time. He was saintly, and it appeared he had given up all his anger. He was situated in his perfection as a master of the senses, knowledge, fruitive activities, and the path of achieving perfection. He is a friend of the entire world, and by this virtue of his full affection for everyone, he is very auspicious. Lord Shiva is described as Adhishwara. Ishwara means controller, and Adhishwara means controller of the senses. Generally, our materially contaminated senses engage in sense gratification. But when a person is elevated by wisdom and austerity, the senses become purified and they become engaged in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Shiva is the emblem of such perfection. Now, Lord Shiva is described here. He was seated on a deer skin on the Darbha straw mattress and was practicing all forms of austerity. Because his body was smeared with ashes, he looked like an evening cloud. On his hair was a sign of a half moon. He was speaking to all present, including the great sage Narad. His left leg was placed on his right thigh, and his left hand was placed on his left thigh. This is called the Virasana. According to the system of Ashtanga Yoga, there are 8 divisions such as Yama, Niyam, many more, which includes controlling of senses by following the rules and regulations, practicing of the sitting postures, and many more. So Lord Shiva is called Yogishwara. So which means that all yogis and he's the master of all yogis. And Krishna is called Yogeshwara. So what's the difference between the two? So Yogeshwara indicates that no one can surpass the yoga practice of Lord Shiva. And Yogeshwara indicates that no one can surpass the yogic perfection of Krishna. Another interesting word here is Tarka Mudra. So which indicates the fingers are open and the second finger is raised along with the arm to impress the audience with some subject matter. Just like when we see the leaders, they speak, something like that. So they have that finger pointing and they are impressing a point on some subject, important thing. So all the sages and demigods headed by Indra offered their respectable obeisances to Lord Shiva with folded hands. Srila Prabhupada says one significant word here is Yoga Kaksham. Kaksham. Yoga Kaksha is the sitting posture in which the left thigh is fixed under one's tightly knotted saffron colored garment. Also, the words Manunam Adyam are significant here because they mean a philosopher or one who is thoughtful or can think very nicely. So, such a man is called Manu. So, Lord Shiva is described in this verse as the chief of all thinkers, Manunam. The Lord Shiva has a sampradaya called Rudra Sampradaya. Lord Shiva is always thinking on how to deliver these fallen souls from their fallen condition of life. Lord Shiva, who was dressed in saffron garments, was absorbed in trance and who therefore appeared to be the foremost of all sages. So as soon as Lord Shiva saw Brahmaji, he, although his feet are worshipped by both demigods and demons, but and in spite of his exalted position, he got up and he offered his respectful obeisances to Brahmaji because Brahma was his father. The analogy given here is just as Vaman Dev offered his respectful obeisances to Kashyap Muni, and because Kashyap Muni comes in the category of a living entity, Vaman Dev, who is an incarnation of Lord Vishnu, offered his respects to Kashyap Muni. Therefore, Lord Shiva and other exalted devotees instruct by practical example on how to offer obeisances to our superiors. So all sages who were sitting with Lord Shiva, such as Narad, Kuvera, Sanat Kumars, and others, they also offered their respectful obeisances to Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma smiles and speaks to Lord Shiva. So here Srila Prabhupada explains why Lord Brahma is smiling. So there are two reasons, because he knew that Lord Shiva will not only get satisfied easily, he can also get irritated very easily. So in order to conceal his fear that Lord Shiva may get angry again, he smiled and addressed to him as he says, I know that you are the controller of the entire material manifestation. You are the combination father and mother of the cosmic manifestation and the supreme Brahman who is beyond the cosmic manifestation as well. I know you are in that way. You can create this manifestation just like a spider creates, maintains, and winds up its web. So the word Shiva Shakti here in this verse means Shiva means auspicious and Shakti means energy. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that although you offer respects to me, you are more powerful since you are one with the Supreme Lord, and I know you are the form of Sadashiv, the Lord of the universe, who is which is composed of Prakriti and Purush, and you are superior to the Prakriti and Purush of this material world because you are Shakti and Shiva combined together. So Shiva is Swachha, that is pure, and Shakti is Shiva's shadow. So they are both Swachha in pure goodness. That's what it means, Shiva Shakti here. Brahmaji continues to pacify Lord Shiva and gives reasons why Lord Shiva must forgive Daksha. He says, you have introduced a system of sacrifices through Daksha, and under your regulative principles, the institution of 4 varnas and ashramas, which are followed and respected by the Brahmanas. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says here, O producer of dharma and artha, you created sacrifice and through daksha for the performance of artha as part of dharma. The respect for the varnashram system in the world has been created by you. Since daksha is dead because of the absence of someone to initiate the dharma with the destruction of dharma, there will be now misfortune for the world. So for that reason, he should forgive Daksha. And also, you have designated the heavenly planets, spiritual Vaikuntha planets, and the impersonal Brahman sphere as a respective destination for the persons of auspicious activities. Similarly, for others who are miscreants, you have destined different kinds of hells, which are horrible and ghastly. But sometimes we find that the destinations are just the opposite, which is very difficult to understand. So the example Srila Prabhupada gives here is Ajamil and Daksha. So he explains that although Ajamil was always engaged in impious activities, just because he took the name of his son Narayan at the time of death, he was saved. And on the other hand, King Daksha, who was always engaged in pious activities, performing sacrifices, just because he committed an offense to Lord Shiva, he was severely taken to task. So Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is called the Supreme Will. And the Supreme Will is the ultimate judgment. And no one can argue on this. So a pure devotee, therefore, under all circumstances, must surrender to the Supreme Will of the Lord and accept it as all auspicious. So Lord Brahma continues here. The devotees who have fully dedicated their lives unto your lotus feet certainly see your presence as Paramatma in each and every being. And therefore, they do not differentiate between one living being and another. Such persons treat all living entities equally, and they never become overwhelmed by anger like animals who cannot see anything without differentiation. So when the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes angry or kills a demon, materially this may appear unfavorable. But spiritually, it is a blissful blessing upon him. Therefore, pure devotees do not make any distinction between Lord's anger and his blessings. And who are these materialistic people? One who observe everything with differentiation. They are simply attached to fruitive activities. They are mean minded. They are always envious to see others flourishing. And they give distress to these people by saying harsh and piercing words. So these people have already been killed by providence or their karma. So there is no need to kill them again, and especially by an exalted personality like you. So Srila Prabhupada says that the hint that is given here is Lord Shiva is a self-realized Vaishnava, and he did not have to personally be present to kill Daksha because he sent his associates to kill and to fight with all the people who were there in the sacrificial arena. So and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that you being the best of devotees, you should not become angry. You are not under the control of Maya. Thus, you see everything. And you can also see the great suffering that they will endure as a result of their offenses. Srila Prabhupada says, he cautions us basically that we are that a Vaishnava should never tolerate the blaspheming of Vishnu or his devotees, although he must tolerate personal insults to himself. He should tolerate his personal insults, but never the blasphemy of Vishnu and Vaishnavas. Now, Brahmaji clearly states that if in some places materialists who are already bewildered by the illusory energy of the Supreme Godhead and commit offense, a saintly person like you uh, who has lot of compassion to understand that they commit offenses because they are overpowered by Maya, therefore they should not take it seriously. So Srila Prabhupada says that underlying meaning of Lord Brahma's statement here is that Vaishnavas should not try to kill others by any action of their body or mind, but they should try to revive the Krishna consciousness of others out of compassion for them. Lord Brahma says here, further says, that since you have never been bewildered by the influence of Maya, and because you are omniscient, and that is another reason to be merciful and compassionate towards those who are bewildered by this same illusory energy. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that although it appears Lord Shiva was angry at Daksha, it was only his mercy. By Kaimutya Nyaya, if anger does not arise in the devotees, how can it arise in Lord Shiva? That means those who desire to see all beings as non-different from themselves, experience others' happiness or distress as their own, they do not become angry with devotees. Then what to speak of those who actually lead that way? That is Lord Shiva himself. So the devotees do not act like animals when they become angry. But if they do not punish, the miscreants would not get the results for their sinful acts and another chance to be saved in the future. So an example of the four Kumaras were given here when they get angry at Jay and Vijay. Uh, so the method of showing mercy is described in the purport that their intelligence is already being defeated by Maya. So how can they gain discrimination? And how can those people whose minds are afflicted by various karmas recognize the devotees? So in that case, devotees or Vaishnavas should be merciful to them. So these are some of the ways Lord Brahma tried pleasing Lord Shiva using very sweet words. Finally, Lord Brahma addresses Lord Shiva as Yagnahan. O destroyer of sacrifice, please take your portion of the sacrifice and let the sacrifice be completed by your grace. So Lord Brahma says that Lord Shiva has the rightful share of portion of the sacrifice and he is the giver of the results of the sacrifice. So the bad priests who did not deliver his share were therefore destroyed, and due to which the sacrifice remained unfinished. Lord Brahma says that now he can do the needful and take his rightful share. Srila Prabhupada explains that in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, second chapter, it is stated that everyone should try to understand whether the Supreme Personality of Godhead is satisfied by their activity or not. So whatever activity we do, we should always be conscious if that is pleasing the Lord or not. In other words, the aim of all activities, yagna, should be to satisfy the Supreme Personality of God. But here, Daksha, out of his envy towards Lord Shiva, neither invited him to participate in the yagna nor gave him his due share after the offering. So, but after the destruction of the yagna arena by the followers of Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma pacified Lord Shiva and assured him that he would get his share of prasad. Thus, he requested Lord Shiva to rectify whatever destruction was caused by his followers and let the yagna be completed. Then Lord Brahma requests Lord Shiva that by his mercy, the performer of the sacrifice, King Daksha, may get his life back. Bhaga, another demigod, may get his eyes. Bhrigu Muni gets his mustache. And Pusha, he gets his teeth. And the demigods and priests whose limbs have been broken recover from their injuries as well. This brings to us to the end of the summary of chapter 6 of Canto 4, Brahma satisfied Lord Shiva. Stay tuned for the next class to find out what happens next. Thank you all for your time. Please forgive me for any mistakes I may have committed. And please correct me if I said something wrong. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Thank you all. Praise to Srila Prabhupada, Guru and Gaurang. I hand over the call to the host now. Thank you.
Hariyol, what a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful summary, Mataji. It was very nice, this description of Kailash, your beautiful slides, how Lord Shiva was sitting, and then how he respects Brahma, how Brahma smiles, and then Brahma's request, and finally the concept of Shiva and Shakti also you described very nicely. I really like the fact that you picked a lot from Chakravarti Pad's purports as well as you were covering Srila Prabhupada's purports. So it was a full-fledged, thorough session. Thank you so much. I was just, when you were talking about, when you were describing about Lord Shiva and everything, it was just running in my mind. Why was Shiva dressed in saffron? Because he was without his wife? Is that what it was? Or
yeah, I couldn't find the reason in the purport. So
interesting,
maybe
right?
that must be his meditation clothes.
Yeah, could be. Yeah,
Because he was in meditation at that time.
he was in meditation. Yes. I mean, it was very, very nice, Mataji. And I didn't know that Pusha and Baga and all of them, they got their stuff back, whatever they lost, their mustache, their teeth, everything.
Yes, and
Yeah,
it was explained in the previous chapter that
it,
one lost the teeth because he was smiling, showing his teeth when all this was happening. And Bhrigu Muni lost his mustache because he was, I think, he was just, um, stiffening his mustache, or he was doing something with his mustache. So all the associates of Shiva, they kind of punished everybody based on what they were doing.
right, right, right. Interesting. Yeah, very, very nice class, Mataji. I really love the class.
Thank you
Thank
so much
you.
for giving me this opportunity.
No, we are very grateful, Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Mukta Mataji is a very nice class, Mataji. Wonderful, nice descriptions, and you covered, like Priti Vilasini Mataji it was talking, you covered nice points from Prabhupada purpose and Vishwanath Chakravarti good commentary also. Very nice, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji, for sharing.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mukta Mataji, Danvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Mataji, for very, very beautiful class, nice PPT. The pictures that you put in was describing how Kailash is, how Lord Shiva was sitting there, and how he went and offered his obeisances to Brahma. What a beautiful pictures, Mataji. We could see everything in front of our eyes. Such a nice pictures that you put in, and the explanation that you were given was also very nice and easy to understand. The flow was very nice and simple words that you have used to make us understand, Mataji. Thank you so much. As you said, how beautiful the Kailash is, even. It's not just a snow over there. It's so beautiful, and the way you put the picture of different animals to show us how different animals over there and different colors that you are mentioning in presentation too, and we can see the colorful animals over there. Everything is so nice, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank
I,
you.
I'm wondering, how did you find all these beautiful pictures online? It's
I
so
was
nice.
just going one by one. I just prepared the slide and then I was going and searching for those kind of pictures.
Very nice, Mataji. So beautiful pictures that you got. Thank you, Mataji, once again. I'm really grateful to you. Hare Krishna. Nitya Narsimha Prabhu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you very much for wonderful session, Mataji. Mataji, my question was like, Lord Shiva is the son of Brahma, and Brahma is in the pleasing mood to Lord Shiva. And also when Lord Shiva was in the Kailash, he was when he was discussing along with him, four Kumaras were there, and also Narada Muni was there. So this is of like in which yuga these all things are happening, conversations, Mataji? That is my question.
I think the Daksha Prajapati, this episode happened in the Satya Yuga because Daksha Prajapati is the first generation after Brahmaji. Matlab Brahmaji created Daksha Prajapati directly. So I think it must be Satya Yuga. Mataji, any other?
Yeah, yeah. So all these stories are from the Swayambhuva Manvantara. It's not even in the Vaivasvat Manvantara, which we are currently in. In the Vaivasvat Manvantara, we are in the 20th Divya Yuga, Kali Yuga. But this is back during the Swayambhuva Manvantara when Swayambhuva Manu and Shatarupa were created. You know, at that time, like it's like age old. The Daksha who came later in Chakshush Manvantara, again he recreates. So there are multiple Dakshas. This was the Daksha version 1. And it was way back. We don't even know when, like, millions of years ago. Yeah.
Yes, Mataji. And also like you in the presentation, in one of the slide, it was Trimukha Brahma, and one of the slide it was Chaturmukha Brahma. So that also like and also Brahma is the Lord Brahma is the father of Lord Shiva, and Brahma himself is requesting the son. How come that, Mataji? Would you elaborate on that?
As far as my understanding is, Brahma, Shivji is, he was born out of Brahma's um, like anger from his display when he was angry. But again, Lord Shiva, he has a very different position, and like he said in these prayers, that it's very difficult for a conditioned soul to understand his position, his exalted position. And Shiva Tattva is very different. He's not a living being. That's what I understood. That in Brahmaji and everybody else is all comes under living entities. But Shivji doesn't come in that. And Shivji is not a post. Like Brahma is a post. I think that's my understanding. Mataji, can you correct? Priti Vilasni Mataji, can you correct me? Or can you elaborate on this?
That's perfect, Mataji, whatever you said about Shiva Tattva is perfect.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, is there anybody having any more questions? Okay, if there are no more questions, we can end the call here. I would like to offer my obeisances to Mataji and all the Vaishnavas assembled on the call. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhyascha patyanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Mataji ki jai.
Bhakti
Thank you,
Sangha
Mataji. Thank you so much for the class. Thank you so much.
Those who are on the call, I think next week is open. So if anyone wants to sign up for next week, let us know on the chat.
Okay. Balabhadra Kripa Prabhu is there.
Yes.
We can again pull him in some way, different way. Tell him that we have to read the verses. Again, he'll sign up this lot. Okay. No. Why, Prabhuji? Why? Okay, anyway, I will talk to you offline.
Talk offline.